Hello, my name is Dr. Aly Baumgartner, and I am the Paleontology Collections Manager here at the Sternberg Museum of Natural History. And though my day job is taking care of fossil animals, my true love is plants. So today I'm going to be talking to you about a very simple but very complicated question: what is a plant? So simply put, a plant is something that is green, generally doesn't move, and gets its energy from the sun and with water. And there are always exceptions to this, but generally speaking, that's normally what counts as a plant. So there are lots of different things that fall under that category, right? There are grasses, there are ferns, there are trees. So today I'm going to be talking about 4 different types of plants: mosses, ferns, conifers, and flowering plants. So we'll start with mosses. They may seem very simple, but they are mighty. So mosses are small and green. They don't have any supports inside of them, which means that they can't grow very tall and they have to stay very close to water. They don't have any roots, and so it can be really easy to rip up a moss. But that also means that they don't need a lot of soil. In fact, you may have seen moss living directly on top of a rock. There are 2 close friends to mosses: the hornworts and the liverworts. They're a little less common, so you may not have seen them, but they also, just like the mosses, don't have any roots, are green, and don't have any supports inside them, so they can't grow very tall. The cool thing about mosses, though, is that they're actually probably pretty similar to some of the first plants that were ever on land. So very long a time ago, when plants first appeared on land, they were also pretty small. They didn't have any roots, and they didn't have any supports inside to help them grow tall. Mosses don't make seeds, and they don't make fruits or flowers. Because they don't have any tubes inside them, they're called non-vascular plants, which means that they aren't able to move water long distances. Like I said, mosses may seem very simple, but it's been working for them for hundreds of millions of years, so why change it? The next group of plants I'm going to be talking about are the ferns. So ferns are a little bit more complicated than mosses. They also don't make seeds, but they do have roots, and they do have supports inside them, so they can grow a little bit taller and they can live a little bit further from water. Today, most ferns are about knee to waist high. They're not that big, unless you go to places like New Zealand, where ferns can be the size of trees. In fact, did you know that there were tree ferns living here in North America only about 20 million years ago? There used to be tree ferns in New Jersey. But ferns were really, really common when the big dinosaurs were living during the Cretaceous. They were everywhere. So even though ferns can grow a little bit taller and are therefore called vascular plants, they have these tubes inside them so they can move water and support themselves, they still don't make seeds or fruits or flowers. If you look underneath the big green leaves of a fern, which are called fronds, you might see little dots. Those dots are where they release their spores. So instead of making seeds, they'll release spores in order to make more ferns. Ferns are less common today than they were in the past. They primarily are found in places like swamps or forests. Even though they have roots and these structures inside them to move water, they still can't live places that are too dry because they need water for their spores. So you've probably heard of conifers. If not, you've probably heard of pine trees. So pine trees are a very common type of conifer. In some places, like here in the US, sometimes people will call conifers evergreens. That's because most conifers here don't tend to lose their leaves, these needles. That means the plant is green all year round, and so it can get energy from the sun even in the middle of winter. But did you know that some places up north, like in Michigan or in Canada, there are types of conifers that lose their leaves in the winter? There is a tree called a tamarack that, just like flowering plants, the leaves will turn color in the fall and then it'll drop them every winter. Conifers are very, very slow growing plants. They have very strong structures inside of them. They have strong roots and they have strong stems. That means that they can grow really, really big. So here in North America, the tallest trees that we have are conifers, the redwoods that you can find in California. In addition, the oldest known plants are these conifers that you can find also in California, the bristlecone pine. So the tallest trees in North America and the oldest trees we know are both types of conifers. Conifers were very, very common during the time of the big dinosaurs, during the Cretaceous. That was probably the best time to ever be a conifer. These are vascular plants, and unlike mosses and ferns, they do make seeds. And that's part of the reason why they were so good during the Cretaceous. They were able to spread their seeds and grow basically everywhere. They're found in the boreal forests up in Canada. In fact, you can even find conifers in deserts. The last type of plant that I'm going to be talking about is probably the one that you're most familiar with, and that are flowering plants. So if I ask you to think of a plant, you're probably going to think of a flowering plant. If you look out your window, you're probably going to see flowering plants. Flowering plants, like their name suggests, make flowers. They make fruits. They make seeds, they have strong roots and strong stems, and they can live anywhere. So they don't go quite as far north as some of our conifer friends, but they are also in deserts. Cacti, those are flowering plants. Just because something isn't necessarily known for its flowers doesn't mean that it's not a flowering plant. The cool thing about flowering plants is they're actually pretty new. Flowering plants were just getting their start when the big dinosaurs lived during the Cretaceous. So as the time of the conifers ended, angiosperms, the flowering plants, really got started. And now they're everywhere. Here in Kansas, the grasslands all around us, those are flowering plants. The forests that we have on the East Coast, those are flowering plants. But just because flowering plants are the most common type of plants that we see today, doesn't mean that they are the most important. All plants are really, really cool and really important. They're not just the green backdrop to whatever is going on in front of them. So I hope that now you will have a little bit more of an appreciation for the plants that are all around you. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Thanks for joining us in A New Way to Museum with the Sternberg Museum of Natural History. If you enjoyed this video, like it and subscribe to our channel. Hit the bell for notifications when we release a new video. Support us on Patreon for early access and exclusive content. You can also follow us on all our social media. Links are found in the description. Thanks for watching, and follow your curiosity to new discoveries.